So this is our meeting agenda for today. We will speak about our OPS mission statement, the important dates, our enhanced online program, the student attendance, academic program overview, parent protocol, student protocol, the fees, iPad specifications, and question and answers. Our OPS mission statement. Every successful school has a mission which helps them reach their goals. Our mission statement is to provide inquiry-based learning and develop our students to become just, charitable, honest, critical thinkers. Our institute encourages students to develop their character as well as grow scholastically and spiritually so that they may contribute to the betterment of the world. We strive to provide quality education that is acknowledged worldwide so that our students as leaders can accomplish remarkable goals in life, grow closer to their innate roots while being able to communicate in a multicultural world respectfully. We provide guidance to facilitate our students to accept any challenge, make a positive contribution to society, and become esteemed humanitarians and lifelong learners. So let's talk about important dates. So number one, the online learning, which will begin Wednesday, September 16th, 2020. We have decided that the schedule will be from 8 a.m. until 1:15 p.m. That will also include 2 breaks, one break for 15 minutes and a second break for half an hour. Okay, so we are very excited to start the beginning of the school term. Now, as you've heard, the Ministry of Education has also said that in November, we will start blended learning. And of course, if everyone is safe and healthy, then we will begin in school, but it will be a mix between online and face-to-face. Okay, this is our enhanced online program. So COVID-19 has brought about a positive change for the future of education. Gone are the days of traditional education and traditional teaching and learning. This is a new era which we will have to adapt as parents, students, and educators. Now, we all know that the future of education is online, but learning online is not the same as face-to-face. However, we have researched and consulted with various tech experts to find the best solution to make online learning easy and engaging for students. The iPad is the best device on the market for learning online. So the iPad is very important for a few reasons. Number one, it allows us to be able to monitor what the students are doing at home. So many parents find it very difficult when their students are learning online. But at Oman Private School, we will make sure that the teachers are able to see the screen of the students. Teachers are able to control what the students will be doing. For example, opening a textbook page. And also, we will have control to make sure that they're not opening games or different apps or social media apps, including TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So we are only using the iPad for educational reasons. This will feel like bringing the teacher right at home. Because it's face-to-face, the student and the teacher interaction will be live. Just like how I'm speaking to you, the students will be listening and they will be participating in online classes. We have many online platforms. So we have actually purchased a few programs, and we've also trained on a few other programs. Here's a list of some of the platforms that we are going to use. So for grades 1 to 3, we are using Google Drive. Students will access their homework and assignments through that. For grades 4 to 10, they will use Google Classroom along with Google Drive. So students will be able to access their homework, their assignments, students will see their marks and teacher feedback, and students can message their teachers for extra help. We will also be utilizing Telegram. We will also be utilizing Telegram. And so parents and teachers can communicate and receive new announcements and updates. The majority of the classes are going to be on Google Meet, so students will participate in live classes, and students can work in groups with their classmates as well. And of course, we have Class Dojo for the younger grades, so for you to see their behavior and maybe some pictures of what they've done in class. We are G Suite for Education School, and we are using Apple Education. So these are the programs that we have purchased in order to make sure that your child, our student, can succeed with online learning. Another question will be about attendance. The online learning days count towards the required 180 attendance days by the Ministry of Education. Therefore, attendance is mandatory, and work during the online classes will count towards the student report cards. We will be tracking your child's online attendance through Google Meets, and when they log in to attend their live classes, we are able to keep track of students who are absent, late, or students who have logged in and left the class. As you can see here, this is just an example of the report where it would show students' names, and it would show us, if they didn't attend, if they connected, maybe they were having connection problems, if they came and they left. So we will actually be monitoring. So we will use Google Meet with attendance. Now I will hand it over to our MYP coordinator, Mr. Harith, to discuss the academic program overview.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Nabiina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Inshallah, this will just be a short overview about the academic program at the school. As everyone is inshallah aware that, alhamdulillah, we have the primary years program from grades 1 to 5, and then the middle years program from grades 6 until grade 10. So this year, alhamdulillah, we have a grade 10 class with us as well. And essentially, the programs are going to run the same that we've been striving for to achieve, like in the IB program. So just because we're online, just because we're doing it through distance learning, it doesn't mean we're going to be relaxing a little bit on the requirements that we expect from the students. There are going to be some things, obviously, we can't expect them to do because because it is being remote. But in terms of the actual teaching, in terms of the actual student participation, in terms of the assessment and the activities, all these are still going to be, inshallah, according to IB requirements. So nothing will change in this. The one thing that is going to change this year is that we have to treat language a little bit differently. And this is actually an IB requirement, and really it makes practical sense. So we students, when it comes to language, especially the English language, they're going to be grouped according to their level and not according to their grade. Most students will be according to their grade, but there's going to be some students, for example, who maybe new students who have joined the school and don't have a strong background in English, or English isn't a second language for them, perhaps it's even a third language for them. It's not fair to place these students in a class according to their grade level when they might further fall behind in instruction. So that's going to be the one change that you might see when it comes to the subjects being taught, is that English is going to be grouped according to level and not according to age or grade level. And this is, similar to anything else. Like if you wanted to join, the example I give, if someone wanted to join like martial arts, you wouldn't start in the training against black belt competitors if you don't even have a white belt yet. So you have to work your way up to be able to join that. So like I said, for the most part, most students will be with their grade levels, but there's going to be some students that might have to be put in an alternate program, so we'll run at the same time. But this will inshallah increase their strength, bring them up to the level where they can then join their classmates, and we'll continuously assess as well. So if we find, it doesn't mean that just because they're in a remedial program, for example, to start with, it doesn't mean they're going to be like that or be in this program for the entire year. If we see a student progressing really well and we think that they can do what the rest of their classmates are doing, then they could join that program, inshallah, throughout. So this will be constantly assessed, inshallah. As the program overview shows here, We do have 190 days in the academic year, but the ministry requires that we have 3 semesters. So I know last year and the years before it was 2 semesters. This year we do have 3 semesters. The first semester will be 65 days, the second semester will be 65 days, and the third semester will be 60 days. At the end of each semester for the middle years program, there is going to be an assessment exam. So if we have, for example, 6 units throughout the year, 2 units will be covered in each semester, and at the end of the semester, they will be assessed on the 2 units that they studied for that term, or for that semester. And then the second semester, they'll be assessed at the end of it for the next 2 units that they learn. So inshallah, this is going to be, and we were doing this last year anyway, except it was done at the end of the first semester and then at the end of the second semester. So the only difference now is that we have 3 semesters where there's going to be an assessment. And it also means that at the end of each semester, so at the end of the first semester, there's going to be a reporting period. And then at the end of the second semester, there will be another reporting period. So this is where the report cards will be given, and you'll have an opportunity to discuss progress with the teachers or any concerns with the teachers. And of course, this can also be done throughout the year, but this is the official reporting. And then, of course, at the end of the year as well, there's going to be a final exam for the last 2 units, and then again, the final report card for the year. So the way that it will actually work is that because they're being assessed 3 times, their assessment marks are cumulative. So the mark that they have at the end of the first semester will be added to the mark that they have at the end of the second and the third semester, and then we take the average, and that will be their final grade. But of course, there's going to be, throughout, we'll have the IB grading as well that we'll share with the parents and discuss these during the reporting period as well. So again, in terms of the actual program, in terms of the content, most of this is pretty strong and is continuing, inshallah. And then for both the primary years program and the middle years program. So inshallah, with that, then we'll move on to the next part of the slide, which is going to be the parent protocol. Now, the first thing we obviously want to mention is that we are still teachers, and we don't expect parents to be the teachers. If you find that maybe the student isn't learning quite as well, or if there are concerns, then we do want you to bring these to our attention because we don't expect parents to be the teachers for the students. This is our role. So we, inshallah, like Mr. Ajaz mentioned, we do have, it's going to be a live class, not like how we did, the previous year when we had when we went online. We didn't have the tools available to us, and some tools only sort of became available to us towards the last half of the online teaching session before school sort of abruptly ended. So we didn't have a chance to really utilize the tools once they were made available to us. But alhamdulillah, now we have the tools to be able to do this properly and do this, following guidelines that we've seen from other schools in other countries. Inshallah, we'll be able to do this. We're very confident in the way we're going to be implementing it, but it's going to be a live class. A teacher's going to be in front of the student, teaching the students, looking at the students' work, collecting homework. The only difference is it's going to be through distance learning rather than in school. But inshallah, in November, once we get further instructions from the Ministry of Education, then, as Mr. Ajaz mentioned, we'll go to the blended learning where students might have to come in for certain subjects and at school, and then other subjects they'll have to take at home. But we'll wait for the final instructions from the Ministry of Education for that. So having said that as well, keep in mind that there is going to be a bit of a learning curve. These are new devices for a lot of students, new tools that are going to be used for a lot of students. The teachers are going to be working hard for the first, maybe even couple of weeks just to get the students used to, how to pull the homework assignment, how to submit the homework assignment. It is a bit of a learning curve. But we ask you to be patient with us as we try to get the students accustomed to this. And alhamdulillah, many of us who have children, we know that sometimes they know more about technology than even we do. So they might even be teaching us how to do things as we go through. So we do expect them to learn quickly, inshallah, and be able to adapt to this method of learning. The second thing we want to mention is that this is a school, so just because it's at home, it is sort of school protocol. So the child should have eaten before class. We don't want children or students to get up in the middle of the lesson to go get something to eat. We want to treat this, and we expect the parents to instill sort of this in the students, to treat this as a school. Once they sit down, they should be in front of their devices. They should be listening to instructions. They shouldn't be sitting in, laying in bed, watching instructions or listen. Have a, and I'll get to this a little bit as well, but we want them to be treated as school, dressed appropriately. Obviously they don't have to wear their uniforms, but dressed properly, because they are going to be displayed in front of their other students, their peers. Everyone is going to be able to see everyone else. And obviously it goes without saying, but proper manners should be instilled as well. Of course, the teachers will instill this amongst their students. How to request things politely, how to say thank you, how to say please. These are things that we're going to be doing as well as teachers. One of the most important things is that we want you to try to provide a place where your student can learn, distraction-free. Having the tablet in front of the TV and then something playing in the background, that's not going to be productive for the student. It should be a quiet place, maybe a table where there are no distractions around them. So that they can focus properly, and this is something that's very important. People shouldn't be walking in and interrupting, even from within the house. Don't ask the student to go and do something while they're in the middle of learning. Again, it sort of goes without saying that it should be treated as a school. It is school, except through distance learning. Children should be seated at their desks at all times. Again, not getting up, not running around doing things when the lesson is going on. And again, we are going to be able to see this. We do have, because it is a live lesson, we will be able to see this. And if we do see that a student isn't focusing as much as they should be, or maybe they're getting up in the middle of the lesson and they do this consistently, we will notify the parents, because it is going to affect the child's learning. Ensure that all equipment is available and charged for each class. The iPads do come with chargers. If there's a charger available next to the station, the workstation where they're sitting and studying with the study station, have it plugged in so it doesn't die in the middle of a lesson. If that's not available, then at least make sure that it is plugged in. They do tend to last quite some time. So if there is a charger available or an outlet available, make sure it's plugged in. Especially for the younger grades, they have the pen. The pen does have to be charged for it to work. It plugs into the iPad, so maybe just make sure that it's plugged in every night so that's ready to go the next day. Ensure we don't want parents to actively participate in the sessions. You're more than welcome to witness the class and observe the class. You're more than welcome to do that, but allow the student to do work, allow the teacher to do what they're essentially charged with doing. So we will be engaging with the students. We want to make sure that the students are fully engaged and participating in the lessons as well. And the last thing is, please don't record or take a video or audio recording or pictures of the live lesson. This is a breach of confidentiality of other participants. Maybe some parents don't want pictures taken of their students or recordings done of their students. So just be mindful of that, inshallah. And that's pretty much all I have for the parent protocol. And we'll hand it over to Ms. Kara, who will now speak about the student protocol, inshallah.
All right, assalamu alaikum, everybody. Sorry. Okay, so just to reiterate, actually a lot of the points that apply to the parents apply to the students as well. So there's some things here that are going to be heard from both the students and the parents. So, for example, we want, again, the students to be understanding that this is a normal timetable that they're going to be following. So it should try to mirror and reflect what we are teaching them in school as much as possible. So again, we don't want to see the students, and the teachers are going to tell the students as well, please make sure that you have your breakfast before you join us, and that you're dressed appropriately, and that you're ready to join the class as if you were in school on time. And even when they join the classes, we want the students to come in and greet their teachers and greet their peers, just like they would as if we were in normal school. So we're trying to really continue teaching them those etiquettes and the mannerisms that we're doing in school as well. Again, participation is mandatory. So we really want students to understand that they cannot expect to receive a recording of the class wake up when they want, watch videos when they want, do lessons when they want. They need to attend the classes according to the schedule that will be provided to all the students. So they need to be on time, ready to go according to that, and be involved in those classes, participating fully. So we will also be asking that all students will have their cameras on at all times so that the teacher can see them in a meet like we're in right now. And at the same time, they'll be able to monitor everybody's iPad device from the master iPad that the teacher has. So they will be able to see them not only in the meet call to see face-to-face, but as well what they're actually doing, the work that they're doing on the iPad. So it's kind of like a hitting two birds with one stone, being able to do it that way, that we're able to see them as best as possible in a circumstance like this. So we want the students to understand that, and that these things are going to be counting towards their report cards. Again, that we want them to have their equipment ready. So we will also, as we have protocols for students and parents, we do also have protocols for teachers, a long list of these protocols. So we're going to ask teachers, and we have been training and talking about these things, where they will be reminding students at the end of the day, don't forget to go charge your devices. So we want to start getting the students to be responsible for doing these things themselves as well. In time, they will start to understand routines and procedures for what they need to be doing. Okay, and speaking of that, at the end of the day, we have the ability as the school with the management system that we can actually lock their devices. So they will not have access to do anything after that, other than homework or whatever. And then during class time, we have with the iPad ability, if we want the students to be focusing only on the teacher's iPad, what they're displaying, we can lock all devices of the students so they are not able to go off, surfing the net or doing anything other than looking at the teacher's iPad screen. So basically we can push out onto their screens whatever it is that we need them to be doing. So in cases at the beginning, especially like as Mr. Harth mentioned, with the learning curve at the beginning, as students are getting used to things, teachers will be able to walk the students through the steps that they need to do to be able to open this app, open this website, open this app or whatever it might be. And if a student is having trouble, the teacher has the ability to take that one student at a time and basically take over their iPad, and the student can watch as they're kind of taking them through the steps. So there are a lot of excellent tools that Apple is providing through these devices that will help teachers to be able to facilitate this online platform in a very professional way that's going to help the students to become more self-sufficient in this, and that they won't be relying on the parents and they won't be relying on the teachers to do everything for them, but they will become better at this. And there are some, we've heard concerns, but there's so little. How are they going to be able to do this? They don't understand. But to be fair, they haven't had an opportunity. We haven't given them an iPad. We haven't had the chance to teach them to do these things. So, and we know that other schools are doing this. We've spent hours and hours on webinars during this whole summer break, doing professional development and collecting data from other schools and other countries and just getting the information of what's reasonable to expect. And there are kids in kindergarten that are using these devices. So they just need the time. They need the opportunity to learn and to do these things, and slowly in time with the teacher's guidance and your patience, we're very, very confident that they're going to be able to do what we need them to do. And then that's going to carry over, inshallah, when we return back to school for the blended learning. The iPads are going to be still used just as much as they would be during this online. So they'll be able to continue with those lessons that way. And just one more point here that we want to reiterate, that students who don't abide by these procedures and policies that we're going to lay out, and we're going to lay on thick, So the teachers are really going to have to emphasize to the students all of these rules, all these expectations, and keep on, modeling for the students what we expect from them. So there will be consequences for things like I slept in or whatever. I mean, life happens, we know things happen, but we really want to have high expectations from the students and really push them to treat this as professionally as possible from all directions, from the students' end, teachers' end, and from the school end, so that we can have a very successful year and overcome all of these interesting challenges. Okay, so I guess with that, we'll hand it back to Mr. Ijaz.
Thank you, Mr. Hara. Thank you, Ms. Kara. Okay, so now let's look at the iPad specifications, because this is what is the main concept of allowing our students to be able to study at home. So first, you will need a 6th or 7th generation Apple iPad, 32 gigabyte, 10.2 inches with Wi-Fi for each child. Now, we need it for each student so that each student is able to come online and learn at the same time. We don't want students saying, I don't have enough computers or iPads at home to be able to follow along. But we're trying to remove that. We're trying to get each student to study at the same time. For grades 1 to 3, the pencil is mandatory because those students will have difficulty using a keyboard. So we will get them to use a pencil, which they will be able to do their work right on the iPad, and they'll be able to send that to their teachers. For grades 4 to 10, we recommend and is mandatory to have a keyboard, because the keyboard will definitely help them with word processing, writing their essays, writing their stories, doing their work. So it is important that they get used to using the keyboard. Now, just like we have said before, the iPad is very important, not just for these 2 months. It is important for the rest of the school year. It is important for next year. It is important for the year after that. This is the future of education, and this is how we are going to integrate online learning and blended learning so that we give the students a chance to succeed. And next, I will talk about the fees. So here is a picture of different fees of different schools. I haven't put the names of those schools in there, but you can see that when it comes to the fees of other IB schools and other international schools, you can see that the fees are fairly high. And sometimes these are without including iPads or tablets. So I would like you to see that these are Oman private school fees, which already you can see that it's lower than other school fees, especially with what we provide. Now, we also understand that we're asking parents to purchase an iPad. Well, we've also offered 10% in the tuition for all OPS students. That 10% is actually more than the iPad itself. Another reason why we went with iPads is that iPads are even cheaper than laptops. So we also were thinking high quality and cost effective. Okay, of course, you'll still be receiving the 50 Riyal discount when you have siblings, and we do have the 50% on tuition for the Hafiz al-Quran. So as you can see that our fees are there, but we are trying to be accommodating. At the same time, we do have a school to run, and in order to give you high quality education, we need to work together. Now I'll leave it open for question and answers. Yes. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, Mr. Ijaz. How are you? I'm just wondering about, we've been doing this through the last year at the end of the semester, and I found it difficult actually, especially for kids with lower grade. It was kind of reasonable for kids from grade 5 and above. because it will be difficult for grade 3, 2, and 1 to manage all of this. I mean, the homework, it's actually difficult. I was been there for the last 2 months, and it was really very hard. I'm not sure how that work for lower grade.
Okay, so I'm very glad that you asked this question. We've actually been working very hard, especially because of our lower grade students.
So you are right, and we realized, like I said, we were sort of thrown into a rush situation last year because the school abruptly ended. We only had 3 days to sort of figure out what to do, and a lot of the technology wasn't available to us. Google Meet was locked. We couldn't actually use it in Oman. You had to go through VPN servers to be able to use it. So, but this has been made available to us. So last year we were relying a lot on recordings, having teachers, record a video, submit it, using WhatsApp, using Telegram. It was very convoluted, and we realized that. And alhamdulillah, like Mr. Ajaz mentioned, we've worked diligently over this sort of summer break to try to make sure that this is going to be as easy for the youngsters as it is as we can make it. So the lessons are going to be live lessons. The teacher is going to be speaking directly with the students live. They can interact. They're not going to be watching videos or pre-recorded lessons. So that part of the learning is one of the most essential parts of the learning, is to be able to interact with the teacher, engage with the students, and we didn't really have that available to us last year. So this year, alhamdulillah, we do have that. So the students will be, sitting in front of their devices, logging in at a certain time, and then logging in at a certain time, and then sitting in that class. The teachers will be joining the class. They don't, last year we had a lot of different links. The students had to join meetings at different times. It's all going to be different. So they log in right away. They sit in that one class. The teachers will be the ones joining the class. So the students sort of stay connected the entire time. They're never really left unless it's break time. So for the first break, they can have a simple breakfast or have a snack, and then the second break they could have a lunch if they want. But other than that, they're going to be engaged with the teachers and interacting with the teachers live. So that's one of the first things one of the biggest changes that we have to hopefully make this easier. And being that we're parents ourselves and we have students in the younger grades, we understand that. We saw some of even a little bit of the frustration that our kids went through last year, and this is what we've tried to do to resolve that. So inshallah, it will be a much better experience. And then also, as Mr. Ajaz mentioned, the homework protocol is going to be a lot easier for the students. So they're not going to have to open so many different windows and figure out how to do things. We're trying to make it as seamless for the youngsters as possible. And of course, the teachers are going to be working with them. So again, like we ask you to just be patient with us, for the first maybe week or two, because the students are going to be learning how to do things, getting used to these new protocols. But after that, it'll be, like riding a bike. Once you learn how to do it, you sort of never forget, inshallah. So hopefully that answers some of your concerns.
And also, one thing that I want to also mention is that when we use these iPads, the teachers from the school and remotely will be able to see the student's screen. So they'll be able to see what the students are doing, even away from them. So that's another reason why we went with the iPad. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Also, I see that in the chat, someone has asked a question if they could use laptops instead of iPads. It's mandatory to use an iPad because of the programs that we're using are compatible with the iPad. So we do not want to use laptops. We want to use the iPad so that we are able to control what the students are doing and we're able to see what the students are doing. We have a management system to be able to look at each student screen and what they're doing. Someone had also asked the question, are there going to be books? Absolutely, we have books and resources, but these are going to be on the iPad. Another reason why we're using the iPad, we can upload from school the proper books, the proper resources, and we're using different resources. We're using Mathletics, we're using, of course, RazKids, we're using Spelling City, we're using BrainPop. We have many resources that we're using in order to ensure students are learning.
Mr. Ajaz,
yes.
How you can make sure that we have, in each class, we have a good student, we have an average student, and we have below average student. How you can make sure that even the below average and average student take care during the class? Because in front of you, it has to be easier. But when they're just managing the iPad, that will be a little bit difficult. So sorry for this, but I meant how can your teacher take care of below average student who they need extra care during the normal classes?
So we also have our own, we will have remedial classes as well. Those who are on the lower level, we will also have separate classes and breakout rooms, which allow them to have smaller groups in order to be taught. So depending on their level, we will have different classes. Also, as you heard, we are also teaching in phases. So we're looking at the level of the students and we are going to teach them towards their level. We are not going to give a student that is not able to do what a higher level student can do. We will not give them the same work. We will build them up so that they're able to do that.
Thanks.
Okay, notebooks. Yes, you can use notebooks at home, but the iPad is there for you to use it as a notebook as well.
If I could add to just what you mentioned, Mr. Ijaz, but one of the requirements of IB is differentiation in learning. So we do understand that not all students are at the same level, so we do have to treat them differently. And this can come even like when we assess how we assess the students. If we see that a student is struggling, the assessment could be modified to their level, as well as the teaching and as well as the instructions. Even the work that's required, for example, if a student is struggling, maybe they'd be required to do simpler math questions or simpler essays to write, not as long as an essay as maybe someone who's a little bit more skilled. So this type of differentiation does take place in our school, and it is an IB requirement. So IB assesses us for this on how well we do this. We have to show evidence of this. So inshallah, that will hopefully relieve some of your concerns about that. And also to add a little bit about the notebooks. How do the students take notes? As we mentioned, that the keyboard is sort of a requirement for the middle years program students. And this is because they are required to take notes. So these notes can be done through the iPads as well. So it does have a notepad. One of the other things that we have, the question about the notebooks, we do have lined papered apps that the students will be able to write on with the pencil and submit that as well. So it'll save as a PDF and automatically submit it to the teacher. And this is why we do want the pencil. We've made the pencil mandatory for grades 1 to 3 because we don't want students to lose the ability to write. And I know a lot with technology, you don't even have to type, you can even speak now, but we don't want students to forget how to do these things. So the pen is mandatory, and it's even encouraged for the higher levels as well. The pen is definitely encouraged, or the pencil is definitely encouraged for the higher levels as well. But more importantly, to be able to take notes, it's much easier to do it with a keyboard. If they do have a notebook and they prefer, the pen and paper, they're more than welcome to do that. But in an effort to save trees and make things easier, these iPads, they have the ability to do these things that can be done manually.
Yes. Okay. Some of you, I understand, are outside of the country. Of course, as long as you can connect to the Google Meet at the beginning, you'll be okay to start from the beginning. But any of those that are here in Oman, you must bring an iPad to the school so we can set it up and then return it so that you are ready to go with your resources, inshallah. Teachers are definitely being trained. We have professional development for our teachers to ensure that they're able to do this. As for the material that they've missed from last year, we understand that the way that school ended last year was different. So it's not just that you give them what they're not able to do. We have to scaffold, we have to build our students. So we will give our students the opportunity to learn what they need and to move forward. Parents, we recommend that parents do not sit in class when the student is supposed to be in class because there are other students there. It is distracting when you have a parent that's there instead of the student. So yes, parents can be around to ensure that their children are being monitored, but they have to make sure the students are the ones attending the classes. We don't want to see parents in the classrooms.
Going to need something engaging. They're going to need a break now. They're going to need something that's a little bit more interactive. So what are you going to do to get them back and to appease them? So it is a point of concern that we are definitely aware of, and that's something that we're focusing on. So I don't want you to think we're just not addressing that.
This comes back to some of the technology stuff, and Mr. Ijaz just mentioned, you know, for anyone who is out of the country, as long as you can use Google Meet, you can connect to the class, and until you are able to come to the country and be able to bring the iPad, because there's a second question here about, do we have to bring the iPads to the school for setup? Yes, they do have to be brought to the school to be set up. If it's a new device, if you just buy the device, do not set up the device at home. If you set up the device, we will be resetting it anyway. So if it's a new device, you can just bring it to us straight to the school. We'll do the setup. It takes a few days, inshallah, but we'll do the setup and we'll let you know when it's ready for pickup, inshallah. If you do have a pre-existing device, then please note that whatever's on that device will be erased. So if you do want to use an iPad that you have, you know, and rightfully so, you don't have to go purchase a new device if you already have that device, but this device is going to be locked with the school and it's going to be managed by the school. So there are going to be apps that we're going to be blocking, because we want these devices being used for you know, social media and other things. And that is that's one of the other points that I wanted to mention here as well, is, you know, these are electronic devices. They do have access to the internet. So we can only do so much from our end here. We can lock these devices so no one can use them, you know, after certain hours, or we can make it available. And we do want students to be able to do homework, online research. We do want to allow that. But if anyone has a you know, more strict conditions, you know, you can come to us and say, you know what, I don't want my child to be able to use the internet after 5. We can lock that from our end. So we do have the ability to do that. But, you know, as parents as well, we also have to keep in mind that these devices do give them access to the outside world. Right. So we do recommend that, you know, even when they are using these devices, whether it's, you know, after hours, then always make sure that these devices, you know, are set up in public areas where, you know, you can walk by and you can see what your child is viewing on the screen. So this has to be, you know, we'll do our part, but of course, you know, parents will have to do their parts as well here as well. So you can, some people might, you know, only give them the Wi-Fi, you know, don't save the Wi-Fi password so that they don't always have access to the internet. You might have to, you know, just type in the Wi-Fi password if you want them to be able to use the internet, and then disconnect it afterwards, and then they have to bring it to you again if they need. So there's a lot of ways that we can go about it, but we'll do our due diligence as well. To get the laptop set up, we're just finalizing the management system. So inshallah, you know, before school starts, they will be ready. I can't give you an exact time frame yet, because we're still setting up the management, the back end of it, so that we make sure that everything is, you know, rolls out smoothly, inshallah. But usually, if a device is brought to us, it probably takes about a couple of days to get it set up. But when it is brought, you know, we'll contact you once it's ready for pickup. But we're hoping that they'll all be ready, inshallah, before the first day of school. And there was another question here about the syllabus, about, you know, it is true that school did end early last year, and we did follow up with a lot of teachers. Many of our teachers were actually able to complete the syllabus before classes ended. But there are some subjects, obviously, that we weren't able to, because we were counting on, you know, the full year to be able to complete it. What we're doing this year is that, as Mr. Ijaz mentioned, there is going to be a sort of a catch-up period. So what we're even doing with teachers as they're preparing the curriculum for this year, we're trying to delay some of the units that don't have to be taught right away to when students are going to be allowed to go back to school. So inshallah, in November, they will be allowed to come back to school. Some of the subjects where it's easier to teach when the student is present, especially when it comes to doing different labs for sciences for the higher grades, those units are going to be delayed a little bit. So we'll start with units that are easier to implement online, don't require as much maybe technical use or resources that we can't make available when students are at home. Those units will be delayed a little bit later into the year, as long as it's not dependent upon another unit. So this is going to be some of the things that we're doing. So we're working with the math teachers and with the science teachers to ensure that they're able to catch up with the material that they have from last year, or whatever was missed from last year, to be able to complete that before they start the material this year, and also to postpone some of the units that, as I mentioned, are easier to implement when a student is at school. We'll postpone that until November. Inshallah, if we get the green light from the ministry that the students can start coming in November, then that's when we'll start focusing on those, inshallah.
I have a question, Mr. Ajaz.
Yes.
Sorry, because
Okay,
I've been through this.
About the 6,
And I'm
7,
doing a lot of
students be not necessarily. So it's not necessarily that that they're going to be combined with students of other grades, but it can happen. So, for example, if there are students that we find are, the phase that they are learning at that level, if they're beyond that phase, they might actually be bumped up a grade, because again, we're I shouldn't say a grade, but bumped up a level. So if for language we have 6 phases, if that particular grade is working on phase 2, but we have someone who's fluent in English and phase 2 is really just going to be boring for them, they might actually be moved up or put in, like with students who are doing phase 3 or phase 4, just to make just to keep them engaged and to challenge the student a little bit. And obviously, we're not going to put them in a situation where it's going to affect their mark or affect their learning, but again, it's according to ability. So the first couple of weeks of school, that is going to be used sort of as an assessment period for us to be able to determine where students really sit. Obviously, we have the information from last year, but we do also have some new students who have joined the school, so we have to assess them during this period as well, and then inshallah we'll be able to determine what phase each student is at. And again, it shouldn't be looking at moving up a grade or moving down a grade, but more importantly, we want the student to be able to succeed, to understand the material that's being taught to them, rather than feeling frustrated because they don't really quite understand some of the concepts that they need to understand at that particular phase level. There was a question about the keyboards. I'll just remind everyone, you don't actually have to get an Apple Pencil. You don't actually have to get an Apple keyboard. They're a little bit more expensive than some generic brands. So if you can't find an Apple one, there are some generic brands that you can get as well. You could even, there are some things that I actually ordered from Amazon. I found it cheaper to get it from Amazon than I was able to find it in Oman, and it came within a couple of days. So you do have those options as well, but it doesn't actually have to be an Apple keyboard. It doesn't actually have to be an Apple Pencil. As long as it works with the iPad 10.2, like the 7th generation iPad 10.2, then you're more than welcome to use any brand that you like, or whatever's financially feasible as well. Because like I said, these Apple ones, they overcharge because of the name, right? But others, other brands will do the exact same thing. So you're more than welcome to try them as well. What's the school doing to monitor teacher performance? Teacher performance will be monitored because the teachers are actually going to be teaching from school. So the teachers aren't going to be working from home. The teachers are expected to come into school. So they're going to be monitored just as they're monitored when we have regular classes. So Mr. Ajaz will be walking, between the different classes. Myself as the MYP coordinator, I'll be walking between the teachers, the MYP teachers, and Ms. Carol will be walking in between the PYP staff as well. And we're going to make sure that the teachers are doing what's recorded over them, what's required from them. And we can actually also jump into the calls as well. So we actually have access to all the classes. So we're going to make sure that the teachers are submitting work, and they are marking the students' work. So we have access to all of these things, and that's sort of one of the nice things about this technology, is that it does give us sort of power, I guess, over over some of these things. So we can watch a little bit. and supervise. So, but it will be just as if they, they are still coming into school, so we have access to all of them. We can see what they're doing, and we're helping them along the way as well. So, the teachers are being trained on how to use the devices, how to use. We even had representatives from Apple come and show us some of the things that these devices can do. So, we're working to make sure that it's going to be the best experience. And how do you manage the health concerns due to spending long time online? Again, we're limiting the time that they are going to be with us. They are going to be focused, inshallah, and we can lock the devices so they're not spending extra time offline. And you know what? To be honest, whether it's online or not, just being at home does have health implications for students. So this is why we're making, for example, our PE, we're making it very interactive and physically engaging to keep the students healthy, to keep them focused, get their energy levels up, and keep them active and keep them engaged, whether it's physically or whether it's mentally. So inshallah, these are some of the things that we're doing, and inshallah, I'll hand it back over to Mr. Jazz. Sorry,
Understood. Saleh, I believe you had a question.
It's already answered, that how the school plan to monitor the teacher performance. I asked a lot of questions because I was been teaching the whole summer for the adult, and it really have an issues about attendance, about the homework, how they perform. So I'm really a bit worried. So I hope all the concern will go when the school start.
Inshallah.
Thank you very much. Inshallah.
Okay. I think we'll wrap it up now. It's 8:06 p.m. We've gone over an hour. I really appreciate you all coming. Jazakumullahu khair. We're very excited to start this new year, and it's a new experience, but this is what we're here for. We're here to adapt. We're here to ensure that we adapt, and we take on every challenge. We always tell our students that be prepared for any challenge, for any change, and this is what we're modeling. We have a challenge ahead of us. How do we succeed? And with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will succeed. Okay, Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.